I always thought overprotective parents were annoying, but harmless. Mine, they didn't just cross boundaries, they bulldozed them. And the night they broke into my new apartment, thinking they still owned my life, well, let's just say the police explained something to them that I never could. Your daughter doesn't belong to you. And breaking into someone's home is a crime. They learned it the hard way. I was 27, living alone in my small but cozy apartment in Denver, finally enjoying life on my own terms, or at least trying to. My parents, Mark and Linda, never liked the idea of me moving out. They believed independence was dangerous, privacy was unnecessary, and boundaries were rude. So when I moved into that first apartment, they didn't just show up unannounced, they used the spare key I had given them only for emergencies as their personal pass. Mom would let herself in while I was at work to tidy up. Dad would drop by on weekends to check the locks. It was annoying, but tolerable, until one Friday night, came home from dinner with friends and stepped into my living room, only to find my parents standing there, holding a pile of my mail and a bag of groceries like they were the landlords. "What are you doing here?" I snapped. Mom sighed dramatically. "Sweetheart, look at this mess. You've been eating too much takeout. We brought healthy food." Dad shook his head. "Your safety is always our priority. You don't understand how dangerous the world is." I felt my jaw lock. My apartment wasn't messy. I worked full-time. I paid my bills. I was an adult. But in their eyes? I was still a fragile 14-year-old. I changed the locks the next day. 2 days later, I came home to find the door broken open and my dad kneeling inside with his toolbox. He looked up casually. "The new lock you installed was cheap." Mom added, "If you lock us out, how can we help you?" Something snapped inside me that day, an anger I had swallowed for years. "This is illegal," I said. Mom laughed. "We're your parents. Nothing between us is illegal." That's when I realized they would never stop. Not unless I made them. I didn't argue. I didn't shout. Instead, I smiled, walked into my bedroom, and quietly opened my laptop. That night, I started searching for a new apartment, one they would never know about. A plan formed in my mind. A calm, cold, perfect plan. I found the new apartment within a week, a clean, sunlit place on the other side of Denver, hidden behind a gated entrance with cameras, a keypad entry, and no way in without the security code. Perfect. I signed the lease the same day, but I didn't move like a normal person. Oh no, I moved like a fugitive escaping a crime family. I took the essentials first, my documents, laptop, personal items. I hid boxes in the trunk of my coworker's car so my parents wouldn't see anything on my security cameras. I visited my old apartment less and less, until finally, everything I cared about was gone, but I left one thing behind, the illusion that I still lived there, and why parents were predictable. Every Saturday morning, they came with groceries. Every Wednesday, Mom checked the laundry. Every Sunday, Dad inspected the smoke detectors. I knew exactly when they would break in again, so I waited. One Saturday, early morning, I parked 2 blocks away and watched from a distance as they walked up to my now empty old apartment. With the spare key I had accidentally left under the mat, exactly where they always checked, Mom unlocked the door, Dad carried the groceries, they entered like it was their home, and then, the security system, reset by the rental company, began blaring. I had warned the landlord about previous unauthorized entries. He had notified the police. They responded immediately. From my car, I saw red-blue lights flash as officers rushed to the building. My heart hammered, not from guilt, but from relief inside. My parents were panicking. Mom opened the blinds, shouting, "It's a misunderstanding." Dad yelled, "We're her parents." The officer outside shook his head. "Sir, that doesn't give you the right to enter without permission." I watched as they were questioned for nearly 20 minutes, bewildered and angry, trying to explain why they thought breaking into a grown woman's apartment was normal. But I didn't go to them. I didn't reveal myself. For once, they were forced to face someone other than me, someone they couldn't manipulate with guilt, someone they couldn't emotionally bulldoze, someone with authority. The police told them plainly, "You cannot enter this home again. If you do, there will be charges." My parents left shaken and speechless, and I drove to my new apartment, locked the door, and finally, breathed. But they weren't done yet, not even close. 2 weeks passed peacefully. No surprise visits. No guilt-tripping phone calls. No dramatic texts about how I had abandoned them. Thought maybe, just maybe, the police scare had worked. I was wrong. One rainy Tuesday night, around 9 p.m., my phone rang. It was my landlord from the old apartment complex, Miss Taylor. I'm calling because 2 people are trying to break into your former unit again. My stomach dropped and then hardened. I told him I don't live there anymore. Call the police immediately. He already had. I grabbed my jacket and drove, only to stay parked far away again, hidden behind a line of cars, and there they were, my parents, soaked in rain, arguing with officers, insisting that their daughter lived here and that they had every right. But this time, the police weren't patient. The officer said firmly, "Sir, ma'am, this is attempted unlawful entry. You were warned before." Mom cried, "She needs us. She's not safe alone." Dad shouted, "We raised her. This isn't a crime." The officer replied with a calm, cold finality I had never been able to achieve, "Your daughter is an adult. You are not entitled to her home, her privacy, or her life." Mom froze. Dad's shoulders dropped. For the first time in my life, they looked small. I didn't want them arrested, just wanted them to understand something simple. Love is not control. Concern is not ownership. Family is not a free pass to violate boundaries. The officers let them go with a final warning and a written notice. Why parents walked to their car, drenched, defeated, confused by a world where they no longer had authority over me. Only then, only when the police cars drove away, I stepped out from behind the shadows and approached them. Mom gasped. You were here?" Dad whispered, "Why? Why would you do this to us?" I looked them both in the eyes. "Because you never listened," I said calmly. "You never heard me. So I let someone else explain it." They stared silently at me, hurt, angry, but finally understanding. I walked away without giving them my new address, and for the first time in my life, my home, my peace, was truly mine.